welcome back to the happenings of the Survivor. Folks, the last time I was on the air hold on, let me look at my schedule, was April 6th, 2024. Now, I don't know if you can do math. I don't know if math was completely shattered by the infected, but that was almost 4 months ago. A year and 8 months since I last aired an episode of Happenings of the Survivor. But we're back. We're back with a brand new government, with a brand new MP, with a brand new show, and a brand new location. I used to broadcast from Grishino, and now we are live from Radio Zenit, so I can cover every single radio field transceiver, everything across the entirety of Chernarus. We have a lot to talk about. I don't have a guest today, which is rather uncharacteristic because in all of my other episodes during in April and during my first run as president of Chernarus, I would always have a person with me. Now, that's not always going to be the case. I can hold my own in a conversation. I can talk at the wall for long enough. I mean, come on. If any of you know me enough, you know I can yap endlessly. Now, the country's it's in a state. I'll tell you what, it is in a state. But the show will live on. The show will live on. I intend to do it as long as humanly possible until I have responsibilities that overshadow this, or I just decide to cut it off again, or I'll pick it up sometime in the future. The newspaper Happenings of the Survivor will be publishing around every 2 to 4 days, as the schedule has already been seen. But no. The structure of the show as it stands is this. I'll yap. I may have somebody here with me at Zenit to yap with all of us. And then if you miss the broadcast on 87.3, or 87.8, sorry, that it will be uploaded to the Discord afterwards. So even if you miss an episode, you'll be fine. Well, we certainly do have a lot to talk about, though. For starters, Dave the Magical Cheese Wizard. He is president now. We had a very, I wouldn't call it turbulent election. It was an election, that's for sure. The candidates were me, Dave the Magical Cheese Wizard, Hank, Maple, and Patient Bunny, and Calbuso. Patient Bunny and Maple representing the cartel. Or not the cartel, sorry, MP. Wrong idea. Calbuso, though, he was representing the cartel. Dave the Magical Cheese Wizard representing the pharmacists. Hank representing Hank. And myself, of course, representing Blackout PMC. As always. In terms of what factions we came from. Of course, we all represent the people, as any good government ought to. My interests do not align that with Spartan or Plague, and I hope that the interests of Maple or Bunny didn't align with the MP exclusively, and Calbuso the cartel, and, well, Hank is just Hank. But I did not win. It was Dave, and I am now VP, as I was appointed by Dave. And honestly, a lot came out during this election. For instance, Dave has an ailment that was supposedly supposed to affect his governance. Now, President Dave has not done a lot in terms of policy, but he has done major strides in government community outreach. His town of Olsha, if I think the name of the town serves me correct, he is constantly building there, trying to make it a safe haven for all survivors. He is constantly in safe zone, answering people's questions, giving out aid, giving out food. All around a stand-up guy. Now, me being me, and me being what I ran on, I am very much trying to shake him into trying to push for policy instead of community outreach. Because being the first president of the new and improved republic means that you have a responsibility to get it up and running. My plan, of course, was to get everybody I could appointed, push for elections of senators, get those senators to elect judges, and then eventually have our governors and senators draft up a plan of region maps. Dave seems to be going with the flow, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. Especially because what Dave has been doing in the meantime is not bad at all. Dave has become a symbol of hope for almost all survivors, cartel or blackout or MP or otherwise. All survivors can look to Dave as an example of charity. Now, I have my own opinions that I do not wish to share to besmirch Dave, because I really do love the guy. He's a wonderful man. Do I think I should have been elected? Of course, because I'm human, right? And I want to have been elected. But what are you going to do? My concern comes with the cartel. And, me being blackout or whatever, of course, I'm going to hate the cartel. But the things that they do really appall me. Me specifically, not the faction I represent or anything. Sorry, I have a guest in my studio, Sir Christian. Chrissy, get out! You're interrupting the broadcast! Get out! 15 wall runs. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yeah. So, I know Blackout hasn't, we're not entirely innocent, but the cartel have made their business off of murder. It's blood for cash sort of business, There's something to be said about narcotics, but Bayer deals in narcotics, and Dare is a community figure that everybody trusts. He started at the dispensary. And while legally dubious, the dispensary is still a shrine and bastion of wealth and survivor prosperity. The cartel makes their business off of murder, off of robbery, selling off those items and pawning them off. Why? Who knows? Greed, most likely. Ambition for power. One could call them terrorists, but I am under no legal authority under the Constitution to make that jurisdiction. That would have to be made by the Senate, of which we do not have. I am personally trying to get coded a Senate chamber building, but quite frankly, I suck at coding. So if anything were to come from me, it would be it would not be that good. Certainly not to the caliber of a paid building. I mean, I paid for my manor. I didn't make that myself, and it is one hell of a house. Anyways, but no, the cartel. There's something to be said about letting your greed and your pride and your ambition consume you to the point of where you just dealt drugs. Now you muscle up against people. You intimidate. I actually have testimony that during the election, the cartel went around and surrounded a couple of my supporters, and not even through blatant threats, just through intimidation of presence, swayed their vote. Now, I'm not saying that was the reason, and I'm not calling that an election fraud. I'm just saying that it's not entirely virtuous or honorable during an election. That's another reason why I think we ought to get up the war machine and start to prosecute the cartel. Every single one of them. Dave, especially during the race, and his supporters said I was calling for violence when I was calling to an end for the violence. Sure, the MP would be on the front line of this battle, and I wish to work with Field Marshal Tip Tip on getting these monsters off of the streets of Chernarus. But Dave had a different outlook on it. Negotiate with them, he said. We can work together, he said. And I still don't believe it. I still don't see it. Now, I think we should have faith in Dave, obviously. Dave is a very, very virtuous man. I have no doubt that he's not taking money from the cartel or having influence from the cartel. He's shooed them all away. But something in the back of my mind just keeps me worried that if we give out more and more leniency to the cartel, they're going to keep doing illegal stops. They're going to continue to murder, rob, pillage, rape, and kill anybody they see for no reason other than their own greed. But enough about the cartel. Let's move to a slightly more, ambiguous topic. The government. Now, I know I'm very much known for yapping about the government, especially in Sakal, but truly it is one of the best ways that we can reform the society. The Constitution, while incredibly vague, has a very good outline for how we should run our country. But there is no defining factor of what makes a Chinaran or a Chinarushan. What does our flag mean? What does it mean to be a Chinaran? What does it mean to be a Chinarushan? What does it mean to be a citizen of Perun or Veles? What does that mean? These are questions that I think, at least in my time in our server, that we've never really addressed. Never really answered. And I think it's a crying shame. Without unity, how can we expect to survive? Without a national identity, how can we expect to thrive? I don't think we can. I honestly don't think we can. That was one of my biggest hopes if I were to make it the presidency, is doing what I'm doing now, just radio host. Newspapers. Community events. I have had the dream of getting a coliseum up for games, for country games. To have a national athlete that you can look to and aspire to. Maybe a derby. I remember the derby when I was last president. It was some of the most fun I have ever had. We lack that. We severely, severely lack that. There is no athlete that we can point to. We don't have a Messi, you know. We don't have a Ronaldo. We don't have a... Gosh, I don't like football. Not a Bernie Sanders. That's a politician. You know what I mean. We don't have anybody to look to as a unifying factor. You know? That's something that we sorely lack. We have business. We have factions. We have mercenary groups. We have the military police. We have a president. We have a vice president. But we don't have legislatures. We don't have a Capitol building. We don't have regions anymore. It's been so long since we've had regions. We have no national identity. And that, my friends, is a very, very sorry thing that we lack. And I think it's up to the virtue of every single citizen to reflect, look upon themselves, and realize, I'm no longer where I came from. Look around you. The world has gone to shit. Me personally, and at least from Blackout, we came from America. We were an offshoot of a Marine Corps branch. We had a special operation here, and we crash landed, and then we stuck here. We stayed here. Same thing with every other person. Somehow or other, you ended up here, but the fact of the matter is the rest of the world has gone to shit. And you are no longer British or American or French or Norwegian or Mexican or Canadian or nothing. You are Chinaran. You're Chinarushan. We need to find out what that means. But I will be discussing this topic after a little intermission. and we are back from our teeny tiny little break. You know, during the election, and sorry to bore you guys with politics. I know, I'm the politician of the server, right? I understand, I get it. But one thing I just wanted to shortly touch on is the use of AI during the election. I am very much a proponent of no AI. I don't like it, personally. Very much don't like it. Now, there may be some of you out there in the streets of Chernarus, Aaron, who do not like my use of taking, for at least my propaganda and my campaign posters, they don't like me taking like Gilded Age cartoons or World War II cartoons or Soviet propagandas and switching them and turning them around by just like posting pictures of my character or Dave's character or the cartel or blah blah blah, right? Because it looks shitty, and I understand that, but it gets the point across pretty good. That's what my supporters at least use. Now, I can't speak for everybody, because there were some people who touted some AI-generated propaganda for me, but all the propaganda came from me. All the campaign ads came from me. And I made them, and everything like that. But everybody else, not saying Dave, just literally everybody else, other than, say, Hank, used AI. AI generated pictures of Dave helping the community, or Dave being a devil, or Dave eating me, or Calbuso being black and helping out the certain community, and this and that, and is it not human to do that? Is that not lazy? Is that not unvirtuous to do? It's lazy. It's not human, that's for sure. I mean, sure, I'm taking old art and spinning it around for my own purposes, but at the same time, I'm still making something. Takes time, takes effort. Takes time to find what I need, takes time to spin it around, takes time to edit the pictures, believe it or not. But all you gotta do for an AI piece of propaganda is maybe generate it a few times, which takes at most 3 to 5 minutes. That deeply disturbs me because it becomes too accessible for people who should not have that accessibility, right? For instance, all the fuck mobster, vote Dave, propaganda pieces that I saw floating around. That's just, speaking quite frankly, that's not good propaganda, and those aren't good political ads. Saying fuck that candidate, vote for this candidate, that's not good propaganda. Anyways, AI is fundamentally not human. And campaign ads in themselves are sort of an art form. So to take the humanity out of that, you aren't representing anybody. No belief, no idea. Because all you're doing is giving it to an AI. It troubles me very deeply. Because soon we will lose sight and lose value of real art, right? And it's not just propaganda or political cartoons or political ads or campaign ads or what have you. See it everywhere. I have very good inkling that the logo for the Chernarus Armed Forces, that was AI generated. A lot, and I mean a lot, of pictures used by businesses are AI generated. Hell, her server, our server banner was AI generated. And again, that just deeply frightens me. Because it's not human. And I won't become a slave to something that's not human. I won't become a slave to AI or a slave to anything that I can just easily push a button and, oh, there it is. No work had to go into the making of this piece of art. that deeply troubles me. Deeply, deeply troubles me. The flag that I made way back when, the one that looked like a Dragon Ball, you know the one. I think it's still in the server actually. The New Republic flag, the flag of the New Republic, that only came to represent the tyranny of certain MP that I won't go into detail. Yeah, there it is. First off, that's just a great flag, all right? Let me stroke my dick there. That is a great flag. Anyways, I made that myself. It took a while. It takes knowledge of how you make flags. It takes the discipline to know ratios well, and it took me a little bit of time to throw together. Now, if I just went, JGBT, give me a flag for a country. Does that flag hold any weight, any meaning? Imagine if the flag of the country that you came from, using me as an example, the United States, wasn't a product of sewing colors together in a cabin while fighting the British. What value would it have? And speaking of the British, the Union Jack. Hundreds of years of evolution came to making the Union Jack of Scotland, of Wales, of England, and their flags, and those flags took time too. Hell, the Danish flag was said to be dropped by God to them, and they haven't changed it in over 800 years. It's the longest standing flag in history. Now, none of those flags would have held any weight if it was just, there it is. There's a flag. Did you make it? No. I had a machine make it for me. Without struggle, without taking time to do anything, anything you do holds no value. There's a book that I often read called A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Solzhenitsyn. Solzhenitsyn was a Russian author who was confined to the gulags and got out and wrote about it in his times and punishments in a book called The Gulag Archipelago. But another book that he wrote was called A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, which was a fictional character based off himself, who spent a day in the gulag and somehow, at the end of one day, which is a course of 200 pages, at the end of one day, he said it was a good day. Now, he had to fight for food, fight for warmth. Because a man who is warm can never truly understand a man who's cold, can he? But he was still alive. He still had his mind. The gulags, they beat people down to a pulp, their bodies, but they couldn't beat their mind. Most people write after they get out of the gulags that they had some of the most profound religious experience of their lives. Which is interesting. How can you find God in hell on earth? Now, I guarantee you he would not have a good day if everything came to him easy. If he had a blanket he could constantly resort to, or if he had a belly that was full and he couldn't complain, and sure, it was bitter and cold and he would be beaten every once in a while, but without the struggle, it would be meaningless. It would have no value, no weight at all. That's why I hate AI. That's why I detest it. That's why even minimal effort like looking for images online and then slightly editing them is far, far superior, even aesthetically superior, to AI generating a wizard eating a lobster. Yes, I fucking saw that bruised. I don't know. I don't like it. I never have. Never will. I don't use AI. Well, correction. I use it for math, because I fuck math. I don't like math. But for everything else, for the script that I'm writing, for essays, for school, for cooking, for just existing, for advice, that all comes from humans. And I don't let AI permeate in my life. like some people else do, like some other people do. You can call me a snob or a humanist, but I am feverishly robophobic. Yes, that might be a problem with me, but I'll never be getting a robot, a Tesla robot when they come out. I'll never be getting one of those. I don't want one. What need would I have one? My life is already good enough as it is. I should be thanking God, and you should too, that you have a roof over your head, a belly full of food, and the fact that you are warm. And you can sleep at night without worrying about wolves tearing you apart. At least, in the real world. And here, all bets are off. It's every man for himself here. Every man for himself. You know, when I originally returned after I left, after my presidency, because I took a little hiatus, I became a bishop in the Orthodoxy Church of Chernarus. Or not a bishop, just a priest, right, in the Orthodoxy Church. Eventually there was a schism with the patriarch, and everything fell to shit, and now we no longer have a church. This is my call to Chernarus and to all citizens, both as a public figure, a community figure, and as the vice president of Chernarus. Start up religion again. Start up the Orthodoxy Church. Religion is one of the backbones of civilization, of society. And I think that, yes, we do need a champion in athletics. We do need entertainment like that. We need community events. We need legislatures. We need judges. We need a better prison system. And of course, we need the MP to remove any signs of corruption possible. But all of that is secondary to the fact that religion is the backbone of any society. Any society that doesn't have religion will ultimately crumble. I think, at least. And I don't even believe in religion. I believe in a God, sure, but I just don't have a doctrine. The people of Chernarus need a foundation. A foundation past me. A foundation past Dave. A foundation past the government. Past Starry. Past Novi. Past Cabanino. Past the MP. Past anything material. Past cigarettes. Past weed. Past M4s or POCs or money. Past anything material. We need God. We need a God. Something to set us on our path. For national identity, I think that would be the most beneficial thing. But I haven't given it much thought, personally. Honestly, that was just a random thought that I just had. My biggest concern is, of course, getting legislature up and running and getting the senators up and running and getting our judges and regions and governors and prisons and MP all spick and span, running like a well-oiled machine so we can prosecute the cartel and any other factions which make their business of murder. Anyways, I am Mobster Lobster coming to you live from Radio Zenit. It has been a very good episode back from Happenings of the Survivor. I truly did miss this. The newspaper is one thing, right? But this is, feels very personal. Anyways, tomorrow, or maybe a day after that, we will have a very special guest on. I don't know who yet. Maybe the president, but it will be somebody very, very special. My name is Mobster Lobster, your host, and we are signing off.